this is love.
Cinderella is etched in our collective memory as the ultimate fairy tale of dreams coming true.
Dream that you wish will come true.
Yet, its dazzling surface hides a grim, relentless narrative centered on sustained psychological torment, the crippling injustice of class hierarchy, enforced servitude, from a life of total emotional and social isolation.
It's just no use. Not anymore.
Viewer discretion is highly advised. We are lifting the veil of the fairy godmother's magic to uncover 10 dark secrets that reveal the film's complex, mature, and often disturbing subtext. Let's begin. Dark psychological and ethical conflicts. 1. The reality of sustained emotional and psychological abuse. Cinderella's life is not merely difficult. It is defined by a continuous, devastating pattern of sustained emotional and psychological abuse at the hands of Lady Tremaine. Lady Tremaine rarely raises her voice or strikes Cinderella, instead employs far more insidious and damaging tactics: systematic gaslighting, constant humiliation, manipulation, and the deliberate denial of hope. She ensures Cinderella's life is a relentless cycle of impossible chores and emotional isolation, designed specifically to crush her spirit, sense of self-worth. This form of cold, calculated cruelty is often more damaging than physical violence, leading to long-term trauma and depression. Lady Tremaine treats Cinderella as a non-person, a piece of property, effectively forcing her into perpetual servitude. The film serves as a chilling, accurate depiction of how domestic tyranny and emotional sadism can thrive within the confines of a seemingly normal household, highlighting the profound cruelty of institutionalized familial neglect. 2. Lady Tremaine, the master of calculated cruelty and class warfare. Lady Tremaine is one of Disney's most terrifying villains because her cruelty is not magical or impulsive, but calculated, managerial, and rooted in sheer social and economic anxiety. Her motive is simple: to ensure her daughters, who are socially undesirable and lack charm, secure a financially advantageous marriage, even if it means destroying Cinderella's prospects. She uses Cinderella's beauty and kindness as a constant threat to her own daughter's status. Tremaine's antagonism is a reflection of intense class war and snobbery, where she views Cinderella as a necessary slave but also a social contaminant. Her famous smile, which often precedes her most cruel commands, is a mask of pure psychological control. She is a dark symbol of the stepmother archetype, perfected, a cold, rational businesswoman. Investment is the social climb, regardless of the ethical cost. Her method of tearing up Cinderella's ball gown is a profound act of malice, destroying the symbol of hope and self-expression, not just a dress. 3. The prince's passivity and the royal family's desperation. The film subtly exposes the profound desperation and ethical compromises within the royal family. The king is frantically obsessed with securing an heir, not out of love, but out of political necessity, forcing the prince to marry. Royal Ball is essentially a state-sponsored speed dating event, reducing the search for a queen to a matter of desperate political expediency. The prince himself is remarkably passive throughout the search. He is only stirred from his boredom by Cinderella's unexplained charm. His passive nature suggests a deep disinterest in the political duties of marriage, contrasting sharply with the desperation of his father. The film hints that the royal house is teetering on the edge of collapse, making the happy ending an act of political rescue as much as romantic destiny. Biological realities and the dark laws of nature. 4. Cinderella's enforced isolation and psychological deterioration. Cinderella lives a life of profound, enforced social isolation, confined primarily to the attic and the kitchen spaces symbolizing separation and labor. Her only companions are animals, mice, and birds, which is a classic psychological defense mechanism against loneliness, substituting human connection with animal loyalty. While this allows her to retain her kindness, this level of social deprivation, psychological deterioration, and an inability to reintegrate into human society, the mice are not just cute sidekicks, they are crucial projections of her need for friendship, community, and humor. Her connection with the animals is a sign of her resilient spirit, but also a devastating indictment, the human cruelty that forced her into such a deeply unnatural existence. Her isolation is essentially a form of house arrest, preventing her from accessing her fundamental human rights. 5. The metaphysical threat of the fairy godmother's magic. The fairy godmother's intervention, while essential for the plot, introduces a significant metaphysical threat to reality and natural order. Her magic is explicitly temporary, operating under a strict time limit midnight, subject to the cold, unforgiving laws of time and reality. The carriage, the dress, and even Cinderella's temporary social status are all fleeting. The ticking clock is a cruel, constant reminder of the fragility of her happiness. This temporary nature of the magic subtly suggests that true, permanent escape from suffering cannot be achieved through supernatural shortcuts, but must be earned through human effort and external intervention like the prince's hunt, that highlights the harshness of the laws of nature and time that govern Cinderella's real life. 6. The threat of sexual and physical vulnerability. While the film is animated, the underlying theme of Cinderella's vulnerability as an unmarried, unprotected young woman is a dark reality. Living in servitude under the complete control of Lady Tremaine, staff implied in the workload places her in a position of potential physical and sexual vulnerability. The urgency of her situation is heightened by the historical context where an orphaned, unattached woman was susceptible to exploitation, abuse, or forced marriage. But as her silent, passive protection detail within the domestic sphere, the ball, therefore, is her one and only chance, a desperate gamble to secure a position of safety and economic stability through marriage. The slipper becomes the symbol of her survival, evidence that could save her from a life of perpetual danger and servitude. The film's light tone masks the grim social reality of her unprotected status in the 19th century setting. The threat of civilization and the ending. 7. The social contract and the hypocrisy of high society. The royal ball and the subsequent slipper hunt expose the deep hypocrisy and superficiality of high society. The entire event is a grotesque display of wealth and social maneuvering, yet it is utterly devoid of genuine emotion or connection. The social contract dictates that everyone must participate in this elaborate charade, even though most of the women are rude, desperate, and focused entirely on superficial gain. The king's insistence on a kingdom, wide slipper fitting highlights the absurdity of aristocracy. Lady Tremaine's successful manipulation of the social system for years shows that civilization is not inherently moral. It is a structure easily exploited by the ruthless and the cunning, is secured not by a revolution, but by Cinderella successfully navigating and winning the very flawed, hypocritical social game. 8. The failed revolution of the animal allies. Cinderella's animal allies, particularly the mice, attempt several small revolutions throughout the film, notably their effort to steal the key and their earlier attempt to help with the dress. These small acts of defiance highlight the limits of marginalized power against established human tyranny. While they succeed in short bursts, their efforts often end in failure or disaster. The cat, Lucifer, is always one step ahead. The final scene, where the mice retrieve the key after the Duke arrives, is the culmination of their small uprising against the forces of oppression. However, their power is ultimately limited. They can only delay, not defeat, Lady Tremaine's authority. Their reliance on covert action and theft underscores the painful truth that those without social or physical power must resort to desperate. Non-traditional means to combat the entrenched power of the elite. 9. The Step, Sisters, Tragedy of Entitlement and Jealousy. Drizella and Anastasia are often viewed as simple comedic foils, but they are tragic figures corrupted by entitlement and soul-crushing jealousy. Their entire lives have been dedicated to achieving high social status, yet they lack the grace, beauty, or kindness to succeed naturally. Their cruelty towards Cinderella is a desperate projection of their own profound insecurity and their awareness of their own inadequacy. They are victims of their mother's relentless ambition and poor parenting, raised to view Cinderella not as a sister, as a direct rival and a threat to their future wealth. Their grotesque attempts to fit the slipper reflect the ultimate futility of trying to force a destiny that is not theirs. They embody the dark consequences of a society that values external status over internal virtue. Perpetually miserable, jealous, and eventually physically destructive individuals. 10. The ambiguity of the final escape and the new prison. Cinderella's happy ending, leaving the domestic prison for the royal palace, carries a subtle ambiguity about her true freedom. She trades one structured environment servitude for another royalty. The palace, while opulent, rigid rules, political duty, and immense scrutiny, replacing physical servitude with political servitude. Her marriage is a success, but it is fundamentally a political act that saves the kingdom. She moves from being a servant to being a required political figure queen, potentially sacrificing her personal dreams for the stability of the state. The true moment of freedom is not the wedding, but her brief, unconstrained night at the ball. The film leaves a profound question. Did she truly gain freedom, or did she simply move to a gilded cage with a new obligations? The entire narrative serves as a reminder that escaping one form of oppression often means entering another. Conclusion. So, these were 10 dark secrets of Cinderella. The film's true genius lies in its devastating portrayal of emotional abuse, the hypocrisy of class, and the resilience of the human spirit when faced with relentless oppression, domestic tyranny, and the political cost of love. Which dark truth about Lady Tremaine's calculated cruelty shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments. Please like and subscribe for more deep dive cinematic secrets. Thank you for watching, and remember, even magic cannot erase